Welcome, everybody, back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about Brandon Aiyuk. If anyone is listening that's on 49ers Twitter, you've probably heard a lot about Brandon Aiyuk lately. It seems like everyone in the fan base right now is a little bit angry about this. I was going to record a video yesterday, wasn't able to. It was way too loud around my house, so I didn't get anything out. But it worked out well because me and Aiden always record on Thursday. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about Brandon Aiyuk. I'm not really sure what the next 2 days are going to look like. I'm not going to post anything on Sunday just because Niners aren't playing, and football's on. I think everyone's going to be watching football. So with that said, let's get into Brandon Aiyuk a little bit. Aiden, what is just your overall thoughts on the season so far, just with him? And we're going to get into Kyle. We're going to get into some comments by John Lynch. We're going to talk all about that. But how do you feel right now just about Brandon Aiyuk in general?
I think in one word, it's disappointing. Both of us are super high on Ayuk in his career. But this season we both I'm speaking for you, but I know that we talked about this before. We both kind of expected a leap after a really solid rookie year, and that just has not happened yet. Like me and my roommates were talking earlier this week, and DJ Moore, who's balling for the Panthers right now, is what I thought Ayuk was going to be to this 49ers offense. And Ayuk just has not done that yet. I think he started off on a rough foot with the week one weird missing a curfew in Shanahan's doghouse, something like that. And he hasn't been able to reclaim that wide receiver one status, partly because Debo is playing so well. But partly because I don't know, guy like Jimmy just doesn't throw to him very, very well. And he played, but like the Lance script was so run heavy. So I understand, but I would say in one word, it's been a little bit disappointing because we know how good he can be. He flashed it last year, and we just haven't seen it so far this year.
I think that's a great word to bring up. And I don't even know, like for me, I feel the same way, but I don't even know if it's necessarily like Brandon's fault that it's disappointing. It's just the entire situation as a whole. And just to go over some positives first, I think going into this year, one of the big things that I had like question marks around his game was, all right, what can he do in the middle of the field? What can he do with contested catches, stuff like that? And when it was like, oh, he's getting knocked a little bit early on in the offseason, there was the injury talk, but it also felt like there was more. Like it seemed like that was the majority of it. Definitely doesn't feel like that anymore. But the big thing was like, okay, well, what's up? He's dropping the ball. We haven't seen him drop a pass in a game yet. And like maybe he's not as physical. Like maybe they want him to take that step. He's been a very physical player. He already has I think he has 5 contested catches this year, and last season he had 2 throughout the whole year. So for me, one of the biggest steps I wanted to see him take was, are you able to develop that secondary piece to your game where he's a more he's getting open because of his footwork and quickness outside, but can he do that stuff in the middle of the field? And in the Cardinals game, I think that was the best just on a one game standard, how the season feels with Brandon Aiyuk. Okay, he got, I think it was 3 targets. He got 2 where they were catchable, right? The 2 targets, one of them is 3rd and 4, and he runs a 5-yard comeback and makes a nasty catch on the sideline on a perfect ball from Lance. And you're like, it was a great catch by Aiyuk, great route, gets open, moves the chains. There we go. Let's feed him a little bit more. Then the next time they throw to him, he's getting he's in a spot that's not very favorable for him. He kind of has a hand on the defender, makes a one-handed catch, breaks away from the tackle, then has a cutback move, and on 2nd and 25, he picks up 26 yards. Pretty ideal play in that situation. And then we just don't really see him featured. We didn't see Debo featured a ton, and we didn't see Elijah Mitchell featured a ton. And when George Kittle's not in the lineup, when he's out, those 3 guys need to have 80% of the touches. Your starting running back, who's out there getting almost all of the running back touches, Juszczyk had a couple, of course, but Sermon had 1 carry, and Mitchell only had 9. So Mitchell, Aiyuk, Debo, Those guys need to get the ball, and Brandon isn't getting the ball at a rate that's high at all. He has 8 catches this year. And I get like, because I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, well, let's think about like last year with Debo. Because it kind of felt like the Niners, like their organization was like, hey, like Debo, we wanted him to play at a different weight. He's not playing there. Then he goes down. It seemed like they were pretty frustrated. So then in this season, we've seen him take a huge leap, right? But the difference is like the Niners weren't like they were, but you know what? In terms of like the season, like they weren't like Debo was hurt. It was different. If last year, if the Niners offense had Jimmy or Trey or whoever it is, right, they had comparable quarterback play and they were healthy and they were performing at the level that they were performing, and they were going, yeah, sorry, Debo he's not at the weight that we want him to play at. We're not going to give him touches. I think everyone would be like, what are we doing? And what we saw is even when Debo was in the games, he still, I mean, what was that Rams game? He had 13 catches, wasn't it? Or 10 catches or 11, I forget what it was. He had double-digit catches and he had 130 yards, and he was legit the entire offense that week. And you still saw them feed him the ball. So it's different. Why aren't they giving Brandon Aiyuk the ball? He's still playing all the snaps, but they're not giving him looks. They're not trying to feature him. And in turn, yes, Debo's had a fantastic year, but this offense sucks right now. You put Trey Lance in there, and we were just talking about it right before. I think Trey Lance looked really good. But that was a horrible position to put the rawest quarterback ever to start a game. That's what Trey Lance was heading into that game. The rawest player ever. Least amount of experience and one of the very youngest quarterbacks to ever play in a game. I think he was the 4th or 5th youngest ever, and he has played a season at North Dakota State. And the script was like, all right, go beat him, Trey. Like, you're going to sit there. McGlinchey's going to get absolutely destroyed off the line of scrimmage. Same with Brunskill. And you're going to have to go out there and make a bunch of plays. And we're not really going to feature those 3 guys as much as should happen. And so now you're just in a spot where it's very concerning because, like, if they're not featuring Aiyuk, like, you can be frustrated and think that he should have taken a jump. But when he's out there, he's giving good looks. It seems like he's playing well for the most part. I saw a stat where they're like, oh, his yards per separation is down. Like, guys, like, there's no NFL building is looking at next gen stats, yards per separation. I promise you that. Like, they don't care about that stat. Like, that's meaningless to NFL front offices. It's not about that. But when you're losing and your offensive and team isn't performing up to the standards that they should be, and you're not giving a guy that it was a first round pick that looked extremely good as a rookie, that's it. That's a big issue. So that's where I'm at on it. But Aiden, what else you got on it all?
I think Shanahan is getting a lot of criticism that is a little bit unwarranted, but this is something that I think he has direct like access over and something that really needs to change. And both of us don't really understand. Like, it's not like he's horrible after the catch. This dude was awesome after the catch last year. Throwing something short, give him screen passes. Like, maybe he's not getting separation down the field to the level that Kyle wants, but like we both think that he's doing fine down the field. Him and Debo both getting awesome separation, but if you're worried about that, just make your young quarterback's life easier. Give him easy throws, short throws. Like, run the Nick Mullins offense of last year. Just get the ball in this dude's hands. Don't make your rookie quarterback. I think Lance ran the ball 16 times. Like a lot of that on 4th down. Threw the ball 25 times. Don't make your rookie quarterback have to make a play down the field 40 times in a game where you only run 55 offensive plays or something like that. The Niners barely had the ball, and it was all on Lance's shoulders. And I think that Aiyuk is a good enough athlete and a good enough player that if you get him the ball, like he's going to do something okay. Him, Debo, if Kittle's out, those guys should be like increasing usage. And that's not something that we saw, and I think that's a big reason why Shanahan is getting some hate right now, which I don't agree to the level that it is happening. People are calling for his head, but like I think he definitely deserves some criticism for not putting his rookie, the guy who's going to be the face of this franchise for the next 10 years, hopefully, in a favorable position to succeed in his first start against a undefeated team. You mentioned it, the rawest quarterback to start potentially ever. Like, come on, like do better. That's really kind of the takeaway that I had.
I love that you bring that up. I agree with all of what you said, just because I do think there's some aspects where like there was a couple of play calls where I was like, what was that? But I try not to do that, just because, like, all right, we've seen Shanahan. Guess what? Me or you get in the booth, we're not calling up plays like Kyle. Like, and probably 99.9% of people watching, that's the same deal. But in terms of like organization and like stability and stuff like that, if you're not if you're not giving a guy that is supposed to be a focal part of your offense looks, and your offense is struggling, that needs to be reevaluated. And that is potentially a huge problem. And that is a reason to criticize Kyle, I believe. So, I mean, we're going to see how it plays out coming off a bye. Best case scenario, it's like, okay, now they're getting Brandon involved. I would still be concerned, because why wouldn't you have done that earlier in the year? Like, I'm always gonna be critical of this. Like, this is something that has definitely like really bothered me. Because I don't think, also, like, if he's like, okay, if he's being like a diva wide receiver, we've learned, anybody that has watched football for a couple years knows that if you're a diva wide receiver, frankly, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Stephon Diggs, like, Minnesota trades him away. Like, hey, what is he going to do the next year? He goes and he's on one of the best offenses in football. I haven't heard any issues of him with Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like you ever heard him in Minnesota, like, performing wise. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you hear about these guys like doing that, like, and there's no reason even to believe that that's the case. Like, you know, I'm just like, that's pure speculation of like what could be the case. And even if that is, like, you still got to give him looks. If he's on the field and he is playing, you need to give him looks. And the thing, like, the one part that's crazy to me is when the ball's getting thrown to him, he looks great. In the game that we went to, in the Eagles game, he had an amazing third down catch. And it's like, okay, he has 8 touches, and like, damn, like, he's pretty much making the most out of his 8 touches. Like, so let's get him the ball more. Another thing I will say is I did really expect like him to be the 1 and Debo to be the 2. Even if Debo is the one for the, like, they said they both play in the Niners for 5 more years, and Debo is the one for that time, that doesn't mean that Brandon can't be great too. 2 great wide receivers can coexist at one time. So I think that's another reason to give him looks. Like, if the offense was performing, we wouldn't be talking about this as much. Like, we'd be confused, but be like, hey, well, they're still looking good. They're not looking good. And so that's why there's a big issue. But that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. And I will be back, or we will be back tomorrow, but not really sure what the plan is for the next couple of days, but we will have stuff Friday, Saturday, and then we'll take Sunday off, and we'll be back Monday as well. So thank you all for listening, and we'll talk very soon.
Kind of got me heated there.